Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to look at how to make an HR database that when you create a new employee record, a corresponding record will be created that indicates what training they must take based on the role that you assign them. So let's get into it. So we're going to start by creating three tables. The first table is going to be the employee table. So up at the ribbon, we're going to click on Create Table. It automatically creates this field. So you're just going to click on View, Design View, and we'll call this EE underscore table. Now, just to be clear, in an actual human resources database, this would have lots and lots of fields, but I don't want to waste your time with data entry. This is just going to have the bare minimum to demonstrate the functionality of when you create the record for the employee, the corresponding record is created saying what training they must take. So the basic EE table is going to be bare bones. Just want you to know that ahead of time. So let's get rid of the primary key. That in itself is a separate explanation. For this demonstration, we don't need it. In an EE table, an actual employee table, you'd probably want one. But again, that's a separate discussion. So we'll call this field EE underscore name. And for data type, it'll just be short text. And then this will be EE underscore job. This is what's going to be used to determine what training they need. So again, that will be short text. We can close that out. It'll prompt us to save it, and we say yes. So what's going to happen is when we do our data entry, this is one of the two tables that's going to be written to because you're going to use a form to create the new employee record. So let's go ahead to create table. Go to home, view, design view, just like the last one. We'll call this all underscore roles. And what this is going to do is this going to have the roles and their corresponding training modules. It's just going to be a name of a module, but that's basically what we're looking to do at this point. Again, we get rid of the primary key. This will be job underscore DESC for job description. So that is going to correspond to the field in the EE table, the job role. This will be a short text. And then this will just be REQ underscore train underscore 1. What's the first required training? Short text. REQ underscore training underscore 2, short text. And REQ underscore train underscore 3, short text. Now, it's very possible that you might have 5, 6, 10 different modules for a brand new employee. Like say it's a banking environment, you might have all kinds of regulatory training they have to take. But if you can do this with 3, you can do this with 20, 30, 40, 50. Because clearly you can see the pattern. I'm just adding more fields. So we're going to close that. I'm going to save it. So that's 2 out of 3. Now we want the third table. This is going to be the table that's going to be automatically written to when you're creating the employee record, and that this is where it's going to store what the current training that is required of them. So just like other transactional tables, an employee might have multiple entries on this depending on what role they're in. So if their role changes, their training changes. Or maybe with every year there's a refresh and they have to take new training every year because regulations change, or maybe that's just how the organization does it, that every single year you have to redo your training. So just to set expectation, we're just doing the initial assignment. We can build onto some of the other stuff if you guys are interested. But again, this is just the core. I create a record for an employee and corresponding training is assigned. So again, we create a table, go to home, view, design, and this will be EE underscore training. Again, we're going to get rid of the primary key. We're going to call this job underscore. We'll use the same naming if I could actually type. And we'll make this a short text. And then this is going to be also EE underscore name. So if you want, you can put name before description. It really doesn't matter. So employee name, job description, and then again, it's going to be the required training. So REQ underscore train underscore 1, REQ underscore train underscore 2, and REQ underscore train underscore 3. Now, I just want to clarify that even if naming doesn't match from one table to another, you can still line them up. So the naming doesn't necessarily have to match. It's a good practice, but from my personal experience in the environment that I work in, I see a single value be given 3 or 4 different names depending on what database it's in. So it is indeed possible. Okay, so let's close that. And now what we have is we have the core database in place to make this work. So we've done the boring part. We've done the data entry, the creating of the structure. Now we can get into that actual functionality. So let's create our form that's going to be used for the creation of the records. So create blank form. And as I've mentioned in my other videos, I like to shut off the record selectors because you don't want the users of your database to navigate in a way that you don't intend them to. So we'll go to View, Design View. The form itself should be selected. That's what that dot up there means. We're going to go to Design, Property Sheet, Format, and right here is where we shut those off. So record selectors, no, and navigation button, no. Now for data, it starts as data entry, no. So if you want to use a form to add records, you could change this to yes, but you can actually have this set to no and still do data entry. In fact, that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you why in just a minute. But for those of you who are familiar with using Access, we're not going to use this automated data entry. We're going to take a little bit more manual, hands-on approach because it gives us more kind of minutia for controlling what's going where. Okay, so we shut off the navigation and record selectors, and we're not going to set data entry to yes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to assign the record source for this will be the all roles. In fact, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to have to populate this with some roles before this will work. So actually, let's go ahead and do that. So, sorry, I lied. I said we were done with the data entry. We aren't quite yet. So let's go to Add Roles. Job description will be maybe Mad Scientist. And so it's Biology 101, Chemistry 101, and Anatomy 101. Or maybe they're going to be a megalomaniac, and they need training in maniacal laughter, or they need training in hand-wringing, and mustache twirling. All the evil things that megalomaniacs do. And let's do one more just so we have a few selections. Maybe they're going to be a superhero, and they need to know how to fly. They need X-ray vision, and they need super strength. So that's all the training they have to go through. All right, so sorry for that quick diversion. We'll go back to the form. So we said the record source for this form as a whole will be all roles, and we just added some roles. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the fields that we're going to be used to be saved to the employee table, because ultimately that's what we said we're going to do. We're going to be creating employee records, and then the training they need. So we're going to go to Design, and we're going to just use a text box. You just left-click, drag that out. You can tighten that up if you want. If you want to move these independent of each other, you can just grab the handle in the upper left corner. And we're just going to change the name of this because it defaults to text 0. So let's call this new underscore hire. So we have our field where we're going to enter the new hire. And again, a new hire would probably, you'd actually have a first name field, a middle name, a last name. I'm trying to keep this simple because, again, I'm just looking at that core functionality. So employee name. Now, what we want to do is we want to be able to automatically pull the role based on what this new hire's role is going to be. So we want to automatically pull the training. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a combo box. So that's that icon right up there. Because we designated that a table will be the data source, we have this third option, find a record on my form, and this is key. So when we choose the role, we'll automatically get the corresponding required training. So find a record on my form based on the values I select. Next, so we're going to use job description. Next, let's make that a little bit wider. If the value exceeds this, even if you make the combo box wider, it'll still cut it off. At least older versions of Access used to be like that. Next, and then we can just do finish. So what's going to happen is when we select this, it will find records if we put additional fields from that table. Well, we will. So let's go to additional fields. We're going to do required training 1. Can expand that out a bit. And sorry for the messy layout. I'm really not a layout person. Again, sorry for repeating myself. This is all about the functionality. You can clean this up however you see fit. So I'm grabbing those 3 required fields because what ultimately we're doing is we're taking pre-existing training in this table, creating a record in this table to correspond with the new employee that has been added to this table. So this would be a good time to test this. So let's save this, and let's call this onboarding. Typical industry term when you're bringing in a new client or a new employee, they're onboarding. So view. So what's going to happen is when we click on this, you can see that values are already populating here. You can put code in place that this doesn't happen. But if you choose superhero, fly, x-ray vision, super strength, megalomaniac, mad scientist, so it's working. And we're actually really close to being done. The next part is going to be a little bit more technical because we are going to look at a little bit of SQL code, but don't worry, it's not as intimidating as it's going to look. And by learning SQL, it gives you that minutia, that gives you that minute control. So what we're going to do is we're now going to add a button. So this is button. And we're actually not going to use the command wizard because what this would do is it create a macro, and we don't want that. Again, we're going to do this manually using SQL. So we're going to cancel that out. And then we're going to just highlight this and maybe say add record. Just so you know, that's not actually changing the name of the object. The name of the object, if we go to properties, is still command 7. This is just a caption. See how it says add record here? Okay, so what's going to happen is when you have an element in a form, you have events. So see here, event. Well, the button is selected. If something here happens, we can have some task be performed, and that's what we're going to do. So as far as the process flow, you do the data entry, and then you hit the button. So that means on click is when we want something to occur. So we're going to click on the little ellipsis here, and we're going to do code builder. So First thing you're going to do is docmd. So you're saying that you want a command to be run. Well, what command? You're going to run SQL. You can see it's automatically popping up there. So, quote, insert into. So pretty straightforward. You're going to insert a row into a table. So that means you need to say what table and what fields. So insert into, and we said the name is, let's go back just to make sure we don't mess anything up. So we're going to do two of these statements, one to create the record for EE table and one to create for EE training. So insert into EE underscore table. And we'll do this one first because it's shorter, and then we'll do the more complicated one for the training. So insert into EE table, and then you need to use parentheses, and then you need to say what the name of the field is. So again, we'll go back there just to make sure we're using the right name. So for EE table, the name of the fields are EE underscore name and EE underscore job. So EE underscore name, comma, EE underscore job. Again, straightforward. Insert into this table, into these fields, values, and then the order in which you list the source is the order in which they will go into these. So whatever the first one here is, that's going to go into EE name. The second will go to EE job. So let's go back to our form. And in our form, you can close EE table. In our form, we want this to be employee name. So new hire. New underscore hire. And my apologies for jumping around like that. It's very important that you understand where these fields are coming from. So we're going to have new hire go into EE name. And then we're going to have job description here, which is combo 2. So combo 2 will go into EE job. And then close quotes. That's it. So, and again, this is just to create the record in the EE table. We're going to do another insert statement for the training. That one's going to be a little bit more complicated, but it's the same format. What are you doing? You're going to do an insertion into which table, which fields, from where. So if I haven't made any mistakes, what's going to happen is I'm going to populate this. I'm going to hit add record, and in the EE table, we'll get a new entry. The only thing that won't happen is these won't do anything yet. So we'll close this. We'll open it again. So let's choose Rebecca. And she's going to be a superhero. Brings up those, but like I said, those aren't going to do anything yet. And we click on add record. You get a prompt that says you're going to add a row, and you say yes. So let's go to EE table. Absolutely perfect. There's Rebecca, and she's going to be a superhero. So half of what we need to do. You have a form that now creates an entry into the employee table. We now want a corresponding record for the EE table. So I don't have to jump around quite as much. Let's go back to EE table, EE training rather. So we'll leave that open actually because I'm not going to remember all that. So again, we're going back to the same place. We're clicking on add record in the form. We're going to the event, and it's going to be another docmd dot run SQL insert into, this time it's EE underscore training, and now which fields. So it's EE name, job descript. So EE underscore name, comma, job underscore DESCR. And then it should just be REQ underscore train underscore 1. REQ underscore train underscore 2. And REQ underscore train underscore 3. I wasn't actually looking at the screen. Let's see if I don't think I made any typos. So again, like I said, this looks a little bit cumbersome, but it's the same thing that you did here, just expanded out to more fields. So again, you're saying insert into a table. So you're creating a record for these fields in that table. So it's the name of the field, comma, name of the field, comma, name of the field, comma. Rinse and repeat. Now we don't want the quote at the end yet. So we said that in those fields are going to be values. Values from where? Well, we said that new hire is the name of the employee. And we said that combo, was it combo? Yeah, I guess combo 2. I was thinking 3 for some reason. Combo 2. And what I'll do is I'll just paste this in. So in this case, the names match. So required training 1 is going to be updated from the field required training 1, so on and so forth. And then we just close that with a parenthesis. So again, one last time, you're saying that you're creating a record in this table, in these fields. They're being updated with values from these corresponding fields. So we save that. And if I did not make any mistakes, this should now complete this lesson. So again, that process is attached to this button. So let's go to View. And we now will say Jill is the new employee. She's going to be a megalomaniac. Brings up the corresponding training. And then we click on Add Record. You're going to append a row. You're going to append another row. So let's go to EE table. There's Jill the megalomaniac. Training. There's Jill. And that there is that. So if there's anything else that you'd like to see, just let me know. As I said, this is really bare bones as far as when you're onboarding a new employee, you're creating the employee record, and then it creates a second transactional record saying that this training needs to be performed based on their role. If you want to then build on that and have, say, a due date, we certainly can do that. As a quick heads up, the way you would do that is you would have to capture the date in which you've hired the employee. And again, I said this EE table is very, very bare bones. Start date would, of course, be the type of field you would capture. So you'd add a start date, and then you'd have a calculated date, say 30 or 60 days later. And then it's a matter of what you do with that kind of information. You can run queries on it. So if you want to see something like that and have more decisions being made based upon this entry that's been created in the training table, just let me know and I'll be happy to make this into a full series. But this originally came from a request, and so that has now been completed. And again, if you want to see a further building on this, just let me know.